Now we all know about the famous and well-known high street fashion brands, but in today's video, I'm gonna do something different. I'm gonna be talking about some of the lesser known brands that has been catching my eye lately. I personally love discovering new brands and their unique take on fashion, so hopefully in today's video, I will inspire you in your fashion quest. The first brand on this list is Alma de Ace. Now, Alma de Ace is a UK-based streetwear brand that takes heavy inspiration from the 90s. Their aesthetic is all about that sporty 90s nostalgia look, and I think their biggest strength is how they color block their pieces. They often use darker shades of primary color like navy, brown, teal, and burgundy, which I think really helps sell the vintage 90s sport aesthetic. Because most of their garments are sports focused, you can expect a lot of loungewear pieces like sweatshirts, coach jackets, and shorts. Another thing that I really love about them is that they focus on being a slow fashion brand, only dropping like a few pieces every season, and each piece strikes a perfect balance of being loud and kinda low-key too, which means you don't have to worry about their pieces going out of trend anytime soon. And it is this business model that reduces waste and it's good for the environment. Now the cherry on top is their pricing. Their pricing is quite reasonable too, and a lot of their pieces often go on sale for less than $50. My favorite piece from them in this season has to be this brown coach jacket and this khaki colored one. I think that their choice of colors is on point, and the added detail just makes it so much more interesting. Now the initial reason why I was drawn into this brand is that their aesthetic is kind of like ALD or A Million d'Or, but much cheaper. So if you absolutely love ALD but you couldn't afford ALD prices, then you should check this one out. Now the second brand on this list that I've been obsessed with is Manière d'Avoir or Manière d'Avoir. Now unlike Alma de Ace, Manière d'Avoir has a more contemporary take on fashion. Their focus is not to take inspiration from the past, rather their focus is more of creating simple, timeless pieces of clothing that will last you in the future. Their design is quite stripped back in terms of patterns, and they put more emphasis on the cut and details of each pieces. I feel like lately they are putting more effort into experimenting with different textures in their clothing. The interesting texture plus the fashion-forward cuts and lack of loud prints is what makes Manière d'Avoir so timeless. I think that if you buy a piece from them, it would last you quite a long time. It also helps that their clothing is quite well made too, because their focus is, again, more timeless pieces, and their color palettes is quite reserved and traditional. Most of the pieces only comes in black or white or different shades of black and white. Occasionally you can find pieces with color, but it's gonna be quite a muted and desaturated color. Now my favorite piece from Manière d'Avoir is this leather overshirt, which kind of reminds me of the Prada ones, and this pleated set, which looks like it's taken straight from Issey Miyake. Overall, their aesthetic is reminiscent of a high fashion brand, but with a much more affordable price. Now, the next one on this list is a Korean brand based in Seoul, and it's Ise Seoul, or Icy. I stumbled upon this brand randomly while I was browsing Instagram, and I absolutely fell in love with their aesthetic. More specifically, the ad was showing this shadow shirt, which I find absolutely stunning. Ise is all about combining traditional Korean clothing aesthetic with a kind of a modern twist to them. They source fabric locally and make almost everything in Korea, which means that the craftsmanship is top tier and the price is quite reasonable. I'm an absolute sucker for the merger of the past and future. A lot of brands try to do that, but I think most of their efforts may come across a bit tacky and forced. But Ise's execution is just top tier in my opinion. Their design leans towards a more minimalist street style look with a boxy relaxed fit cut, along with traditional street style details like the cargo pockets, which overall creates a very unique and grown-up streetwear aesthetic. Now because of this, you won't be finding any colorful graphics or neon color like in a traditional streetwear brand, Rather, their garment design is more stripped back and simple, opting for more neutral colors with interesting design details that stands out in all the right place. My favorite piece has to be this flock button-up shirt that they have. I just love the white detailing on the navy background of the shirt. It reminds me of something Yohji Yamamoto would design, and I pray that it's gonna be in stock about a week or so because I would absolutely love to have this piece in my spring-summer wardrobe. The next one is my most recent discovery, and that is Carp Studio. Now, this brand is a minimalist dream. Their whole idea is to create an aesthetic that is inspired by the American West Coast. Their clothing and marketing absolutely reflect this by having a vintage feel to them. And they offer simple minimalist clothing pieces like dress shirts, t-shirts, overshirts, and leather jackets. You definitely wouldn't find anything remotely trendy with this brand, but I think sometimes it's a good thing. Having simple but high quality pieces that are made to last is so much better than just endlessly chasing trends. And because of their limited pieces, I think it's a perfect brand if you want to get your wardrobe staples or wardrobe essentials. Things that you can wear every day, as well as mix and match with other things in your wardrobe to create your personal style. A lot of the time, minimalist clothing is just too basic because at its core, minimalism is just kind of basic. What's really nice about this brand is that they avoided being boring and bland by offering quite an interesting cut to their clothing. Like, look at this trench coat that they have. The large padded shoulders gives it a little bit of an edge and made it more visually interesting. Personally, when I look at their collection, I imagine this is what Southern California is all about. My favorite pieces from their collection has to be that overcoat, which reminds me of the lmao Chesterfield overcoat, but only much cheaper. I might pick these up somewhere down the line as we move on to a more fall and winter season, but for now it's gonna stay in my wish list. Now, the fifth and final brand is Florence Black. I've heard every fashion influencer rave about Florence Black because of their interesting cuts and their quality is just top tier. And I was really surprised to find out that they only have 26,000 followers on Instagram. I was honestly expecting a lot more because their design aesthetic and what they offer is just like top tier. They were founded in 2018 by Finn Lewis, and their head designer draws heavy inspiration from their grandfather's fashion aesthetic in the 1970s. As a result, their clothing is reminiscent of the old days of British tailor-made garments. Finn Lewis managed to bring that old nostalgic 70s feel to the modern day by offering very fashion-forward cuts that propelled their collection into the modern era. The interesting cuts also prevent it from being too boring, as Florence Black often offers simple pieces. Everything about this brand just screams classiness, but not in a classic three-piece tailor-made suit in a way. Rather, this is what I would imagine a modern-day young gentleman would wear. Their quality is absolutely top-notch and rival those of ultra-luxury brands like Chanel and Dior. And you know a piece of clothing is well made when you can actually see how well made it is just through the pictures alone. My personal favorite from the brand has to be this wool boxy short sleeve shirt. God, try saying that 10 times. I think that this is a perfect piece for the summer. The color black just screams classiness, and you could wear this button up or button down, it would still look amazing. So those are the 5 quite low-key fashion brands that has been catching my eye lately. Let me know down in the comments which are your favorites, and while you're down there, consider liking and subscribing to more fashion content. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I'll see you next Sunday.